Chelsea may have just made the kind of mistake that people remember for years. They sold Marc Cucurella to Real Madrid for around 60 million euros. On paper, that sounds like a fair deal, but after what Cucurella has done over the last 2 years, and especially in the World Cup,
Cucurella, that's a smart touch as well.
Many people are starting to ask a very different question. Did Real Madrid just get a 100 million euro left back for almost half the price? Because this isn't just the story of another transfer. It's the story of a player Barcelona gave up on, Chelsea fans once wanted gone, pundits publicly mocked.
But the Spanish defence, he's got a lot of experience now, obviously, but there's something just missing from Spain that makes you feel like they're going to go all the way, and I have to say that him being at left-back probably is another example of why we think that.
And who somehow ended up becoming one of the most valuable defenders in world football. As we all know, Spain didn't just win the World Cup, they pretty much dominated everyone. Their defenders and midfielders were just on another level, conceding only 1 goal the entire tournament. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons was Marc Cucurella. He played every single minute for Spain, and they won every game he started. He finished with 92% pass accuracy, 98 presses, 18 ball recoveries, and 2 assists. I mean, that's pretty much a dream tournament for a left back. His performances reminded everyone why he's a $100 million player. The only difference is, Real Madrid got him for 60 million euros. And honestly, that might end up being one of the smartest transfers they've ever made. So that answers whether he's worth it, but World Cup form alone doesn't explain why Madrid moved as fast as they did, because this deal came together in a way that had nothing to do with patience. When the news broke that Chelsea were selling Cucurella, fans were stunned. I mean, this was a guy who played almost every week. He still had over 2 years left on his contract. He wasn't old, he wasn't injured, so why sell him? That question only got louder because of the timing. The deal happened right in the middle of the World Cup, while Cucurella was just trying to focus on football. Talk about terrible timing. Now here's where things get even messier. Cucurella came through Barca's academy, so technically he's one of their own, which is exactly why his move to Real Madrid, their biggest rival, didn't go down at all. Reports say his wife was harassed online. Some people even sent death threats. Spanish media described considerable indignation across Catalonia. But to be fair, not everyone turned on him. Pedri, another Barca Academy graduate, publicly said Cucurella deserves to be at a big club because he is a top player. And here's the funny part. Months before any of this, Cucurella joked in an interview that he'd rather shave off his curls than ever join Real Madrid. Well, I guess somebody should check on those curls. Real Madrid's own logic didn't make much sense either. At the time, they already had 4 senior left-backs in the squad, including one they'd signed just a year earlier for 50 million euros. So why on earth would they need a 5th? Well, we'll get to that, but first, you need to understand where this all started. Because Cucurella didn't start at Barcelona. He actually began at Espanyol, Barca's crosstown rivals, before joining La Masia in 2012. Once he got there, he spent 4 years in the academy and another 2 with Barcelona B. The whole time he was chasing one position, left back. The only problem? That spot already belonged to Jordi Alba. And just think about that for a second. Imagine spending years fighting for one position against a guy who never gets injured, never gets dropped, and never loses his place. That was the mountain Cucurella had to climb. His entire senior career at Barcelona lasted 7 minutes, 1 cameo in a Copa del Rey match, and that was it. In his own words, he said, "Due to circumstances beyond my control, I wasn't able to show what I can do at Barcelona." Now, some people call him a converted midfielder. That's not exactly true. He was more of a hybrid, playing both left back and left midfield, depending on the system. And trust me, that'll matter later. Now here's a little detail I love. While on loan at Eibar, Cucurella scored a goal and assisted another in a 3-0 win over Real Madrid. Yep, the exact club he'd end up joining one day. Meanwhile, Barcelona let him leave without ever really giving him a proper chance. And honestly, that's where the story gets interesting, because two smaller clubs saw something Barca completely missed. Getafe made his loan move permanent for just 10 million euros. Honestly, that's a bargain. Low risk and barely even a gamble. Then, 2 years later, Brighton came in, and in his very first season, he won both Brighton's Player of the Season and the Players' Player of the Season, both awards, in the same year. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. Then Chelsea came calling, paying Brighton £63 million for him. Just let that sink in for a second. From 10 million euros to £63 million. Somebody was clearly doing something right. But here's the thing. Bigger fees always bring bigger expectations, and at Chelsea, those expectations almost buried him. The injuries came first, a thigh injury in 2023, then an ankle injury that needed surgery, keeping him out from December 2023 to February 2024. But honestly, the injuries weren't even the worst part. In February 2023, Graham Potter dropped him from the squad completely, and according to reports, that was rock bottom. The fans didn't make it any easier either. After a League Cup loss to Manchester City, one fan posted, "Who scouted Cucurella for Chelsea?" And to be fair, the club wasn't exactly helping. Potter got sacked, then Pochettino, then Maresca came in, and he got sacked too, with Chelsea's under-21 coach stepping in as interim. Honestly, at that point, it felt like Chelsea were changing managers faster than some people change phone wallpapers. Cucurella later admitted that all those changes made it hard for any player to settle. So just picture it, you're out of form, the manager won't play you, the fans are on your back, and the club keeps changing coaches every few months. At that point, even he probably wondered if things were ever going to get better. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. The injury that looked like the end of his Chelsea story actually became the moment everything changed. Cucurella has spoken about that moment himself, and honestly, it's worth hearing in his own words. He said the ankle injury gave him 3 months with nothing to do but think. Think about himself, what he needed, what was actually best for him. He later called it probably the moment that changed my career. And looking back, he wasn't wrong. His first game back was against Leicester. He scored. Then, just 5 months later, he did something even bigger. Spain reached the Euro 2024 final against England. Nico Williams scored first, Cole Palmer equalized for England. Then, in the 86th minute, Cucurella burst down the left and slid a perfect cross into the box. Mikel Oyarzabal finished it. Spain won. Oyarzabal, being humble as always, said afterward, "I did my job and was just lucky enough to score the goal for the victory." But honestly, that's not the moment everyone remembers. Before the tournament, pundit Gary Neville had said Spain aren't going to go all the way, specifically pointing to Cucurella at left back as a weak link. So, after lifting the trophy, Cucurella tagged Neville on Instagram and wrote, "We went all the way, Gary. Thanks for your support." Yeah, that's ice cold. For most players, winning a European championship a year after hitting rock bottom would be the perfect ending, but Cucurella wasn't finished. In fact, he was just getting started. Chelsea won the Conference League in 2024-25, beating Real Betis 4-1 in the final. That made them the first club ever to win all 4 major European trophies. Then, just weeks later, Chelsea faced PSG, the reigning European champions in the first ever expanded Club World Cup. Chelsea won 3-0. Honestly, I don't think many people saw that coming. And there's one little moment from that game that's impossible to ignore. PSG's João Neves got sent off for pulling Cucurella's hair as his team completely lost their heads under pressure. At this point, those curls deserve their own trophy. FIFA even named Cucurella to its official team of the tournament, praising his role in 3 clean sheets. By the time Real Madrid came calling, he already had 9 major trophies to his name. I mean, 9 trophies by 25 is ridiculous. Most players at that age are trying to earn a bigger contract. Cucurella was packing for Real Madrid. So why did Real Madrid decide this was the perfect moment to make their move? And why did they move so quickly? Well, the whole deal came together in about a day and a half. Cucurella confirmed it himself. And here's the clever part. It was wrapped up before Spain even played their opening World Cup game, just to avoid any distractions. Real Madrid weren't the only club interested either. Reports say Barcelona, Manchester City, and Atletico Madrid were all in the mix before Real Madrid manager José Mourinho pushed the deal through himself. And honestly, that's a pretty big change for Real Madrid. In the past, managers usually had to go through the board for signings. Now, Mourinho is reportedly identifying targets and driving transfers himself. The move was even described as a direct blow to Chelsea's incoming manager, Xabi Alonso, who was already short on experienced players. Now, here's the stat that made me stop for a second. Just 1 year earlier, Real Madrid had spent 50 million euros on another left-back, Álvaro Carreras, and now they'd spent almost the same amount on another one, same position, 1 year apart. On paper, it doesn't exactly scream, "we needed this." But there's another piece to the puzzle. Going into the World Cup, Real Madrid had 0 players in Spain's squad, for the first time ever. Signing Cucurella changed that overnight. So yeah, on paper the fee looks a little strange, but once you look at Madrid's situation, it starts to make a lot more sense. Here's why. Real Madrid's left-back situation was already changing before Cucurella even arrived. David Alaba had left the club, Fran Garcia was on his way to Real Betis, and Ferland Mendy's future was uncertain because of his injury record. That left a pretty big hole, and right into it stepped Cucurella, reportedly as Mourinho's first-choice left-back, with Carreras as genuine competition. One writer described him as the perfect Mourinho fullback, the kind of player you absolutely love when he's on your team and absolutely hate when he's playing against you. Honestly, that's about as accurate as a scouting report gets. Real Madrid handed him a 6-year contract through 2032. Mourinho signed for 3 years. Put those together, and it's pretty clear this isn't some quick fix. It's a long-term plan. But before any of that could begin, Cucurella had one more tournament to finish, and honestly, it turned into the best month of his career. Spain opened the World Cup with a goalless draw against Cape Verde, then wins over Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Cucurella started every single minute. Then came the round 32 against Austria. Spain won 3-0, and Cucurella was everywhere. He had a goal disallowed, then he set up 2 assists in the same match, one of them going straight to Oyarzabal again. In the semi-final against France, Spain's defense held Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembélé, and Michael Olise to almost nothing. Then the final, Spain against Argentina. Ferran Torres scored the winner in extra time, becoming only the 2nd substitute in history to score a World Cup final winner. Cucurella didn't win the Golden Ball. He didn't win the Golden Boot. He didn't win any individual award at all. And honestly, that's kind of the point. Spain won the whole tournament, conceding 1 single goal in 7 games, without their best defender picking up a single personal trophy. Afterward, Cucurella didn't talk about himself. He talked about the defense. He called Spain's record incredible. So Real Madrid didn't just sign a left-back in the middle of a World Cup. They signed the one defender who had just proven, on the biggest stage in football, exactly what he's capable of. So next time you see a player everyone is writing off, maybe wait a little longer before you judge him, because Marc Cucurella did, and look where he ended up.